Hello, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and my dear colleagues. Welcome to the 61st episode of Let's Talk Inclusion. Today we have a panel discussion on the crucial topic of parental involvement in inclusive education. I'm Manobina Chakraborty. As your moderator, I'm honored to guide our conversation today. Before we begin today's session, let me introduce you to our experts one by one. Interestingly, all of us met in Paris last month while attending the IFIP Global Inclusive Schools Forum at the UNESCO headquarters. First, we have Roslyn Dotterweich joining us from Jeddah. Hi, Roslyn. Could you please
Hello.
tell us? Hi. So, could you please tell us something about yourself, Roslyn?
Sure. Uh, I'm Roslyn, and I am coming to you from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. I am a life centered education teacher in the high school at the American International School of Jeddah. I've been abroad for over about 25 years in various areas, but I've been in Saudi for the past 13. And so I am my specialty, my research area. I am pursuing a doctorate in post-secondary education. So I am very, very interested in helping students with intensive exceptionalities in middle and high school, and helping them pursue their post-secondary dreams. I am also a mother of two boys with autism and one with dyslexia. So I kind of wear both hats. I'm a parent first and foremost, but I'm also a professional in this area. So today I'm going to speak in on wearing both hats, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Roslyn. We have Juniette Kanga joining us from California. Good morning, Juniette.
Morning, Manobina. Thank you so much for having us on this. It was just amazing being able to meet in Paris and find our mutual interests and just seeing how we're all passionate about inclusion. So, as Manobina says, my name is Juniette Kanga and I'm located in California. Um, I am currently focused mostly on on completing my doctorate as well, just like Roslyn said. I'm pursuing a doctorate in cognitive diversity, specifically focused on choice exceptionality. And that is what I also do part time, which is support parents as they walk through the education of their choice exceptional child, whether it's through advocacy if they're in public school, or supporting them through homeschool choices or transitions, just being able to navigate that whole world with their choice exceptional child, meaning that a child has both really high gifts and also has learning challenges or disabilities. I'm also a mom of a child with autism confirmed and others who got something neurodivergent that hasn't been confirmed. And once you've seen one, and in many places you've seen many, then you begin to see how even your children fit into it. I've lived through multiple IEPs for multiple children, and have had to navigate all kinds of learning settings. At the moment, some of my kids are homeschooled, and one is in public school, and is probably exiting his IEP. So I kind of live that world where you're constantly having to change as a parent, but also being able to support other parents through that journey. I also run social emotional um, groups for parents, for gifted children and choice exceptional children. And my role is really just helping them be able to think through how to be able to win through some of the challenges that they go through. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much, Julian. Those who are watching us, our viewers, could you please just drop a line saying that we are audible and you can see us as well? Thank you. Uh, my friend Janice Bareng-Pineda joining us from Beijing. Oh, as what you said, you are not at present in Beijing, right, Janice? Where are you at present? And please tell us something about yourself as well.
First of all, I would like to say that I am just so grateful. I'm so inspired to meet all of you in Paris last month. I left the conference with, the feeling of I wanted to do something. I wanted to take action, listening to all the people that were at the conference, especially you guys, listening to your stories and what you do. It just makes you more passionate with what we do, especially for working in, as inclusion practitioners, and also working with individuals and young people with diverse needs. So yes, I am speaking. Right now, I am in the Philippines, but I have been working in Beijing for more than 10 years. I've been as a learning support teacher for more than 10 years now. I do help children with literacy, numeracy, at the same time with social emotional learning. I also help parents and my staff and colleagues to support children with diverse needs. Right now, I'm also taking my master's on special needs and inclusion. So it's very timely to attend the conference and know, the context of different people from around the world. And as I've said, it makes me more passionate with what I do and to continue with the advocacy that we do, we all are fighting for. I'm also a mother of three boys. I'm a single parent, and my boys have all different needs. One of them have just been recently diagnosed with ADHD, and of course, my two boys during the pandemic have gone through a lot in terms of mental health issues, and I think all of us, I think, have gone through that. But with teenagers, hormones here and there, it has been very challenging, but I'm still grateful that we were able to cope with it. I'm
Thank you
so
very
glad
much.
to be here. Thank you so much, Manu, for the invitation.
Thank you very much, Janice. Thank you to everybody. So, dear viewers, as we all know, inclusive education is not just about access. It's about ensuring every child, regardless of their background or ability, receives the support they need to thrive. And at the heart of this endeavor lies parental involvement. This morning, also, I was addressing some parents at my workplace, and I was saying the same thing. Parents are the first and most influential educators in a child's life, and their engagement in their child's education is paramount to its success. So, today we have gathered esteemed panelists who bring a wealth of experience and expertise to shed light on the importance of parental involvement in inclusive education. We will explore how parents can be empowered to actively participate in their child's learning journey, how schools and communities can support and encourage parental engagement, and the positive impact it has on creating truly inclusive learning environments. So, my questions to my colleagues here, the first one is how can moms, dads, and teachers team up to make sure all kids, including those with different ways of learning, feel welcome and supported at school? So, who'd like to take this question? Roslyn?
Oh, yes. I love this question. First and foremost, and I'm speaking from personal experience, educators need to remember that being a parent of children with a child or children with special needs is very difficult. It is traumatizing. And it's really not something that is able to be explained. It's kind of like women with childbirth. You can explain it, but you really do have to go through it in order to really, truly understand it. And that said, I know we're not all special needs parents, but first and foremost, please do recognize that the parents that you are talking to you have no idea what they've been through, but they've been through an ordeal. And every journey of this, and I will say trauma because it is a type of trauma, at least it's been for me and my husband, it's different. Every journey is different. And so I would encourage you to be incredibly empathetic and to listen. Listen, and listen some more, because that's what these parents need. The parents, they have, as Manobina said, they are the front line of their children. They know more about their children than anybody else. And if teachers truly want to support them and serve them, they need to listen to these parents. They need to embrace them and lean in and establish a culture of trust. In my mind, nothing is more important than trust between parents and educators, because then parents will feel comforted, and they will feel supported, and they will be willing and very happy and very eager to interact with teachers and to do whatever is necessary to support their children to the best of their abilities. So open and honest relationships built on listening, trust, and empathy would be my first and foremost suggestion.
Thank you very much, Roslyn. Would you like to add something to it, Juniette or Janice?
Yeah, absolutely. And Roslyn, I really appreciate that we started with listen and trust and be able to connect and just listen, because I feel like that's what everyone needs to take away from this meeting, no matter which question is asked, is first to listen, because you just don't know what's happening on the other end, and that parents are definitely know their children better than anybody else. One of the things that I was thinking about with regards to schools, some things that schools have done, for example, is creating like a buddy. And whereas I love the concept of a buddy, I always feel like it's still othered. So that's not inclusive. It's like, oh, I'm helping you who's neurotypical be able to help these children who are having XYZ challenges, whether it's physical or cognitive, and be able to be their friend. And so imagine you're so special because you're doing this. And I learned that because something happened in a school one time where um, children were being listed to be buddies. And it's a good program. It's a better step than nothing, right? But if you're going to try to create to get schools children to feel included, is friendship has to be taught intentionally. What friendship means. What does it mean to somebody who is cognitively different than you? Teachers need to actually teach the children about brain variations, and that it's okay to have brain variations, that it's okay to have physical variations. That, and physical ones, it's easier for them to understand, but then the brain ones, they don't get it. So that when they're meeting, that they would know that they themselves are also different, that everyone is different in the world, and that you need to know each person and be able to learn to work with each person. And that's something that from a social emotional learning perspective, I really haven't seen anyone that's actually intentionally teaching the children in a class about how to make friendships across the board in that inclusive setting. I've seen people try, but it's always more about, let me teach you about autism, and not let me teach you about everybody's brains. And that is, I think, an approach that we need to use. We need to normalize it to just say everyone is different, variation is different, and it's beautiful. Um, the other thing is more sensory friendly, inclusive clubs. I feel like there's all this, culture of competition, which is lovely, especially as kids get into high school. But at the same time, some people always feel left out, and it's like almost as if they've got to go to. What I find with some of the middle schoolers and high schoolers is that they just begin to withdraw because I can't be in sports, I can't be in music because maybe I don't have that skill. Some people luckily do, but others don't. I feel that it's just too much. I can't be able to join certain clubs, and being able to have those sensory inclusive clubs where they can connect based on their interests would help, and not just sensory inclusive, but even physically inclusive, so that everybody who comes in is able to feel like I belong. I have a place that I can have fun, do what I consider to be fun, and I'm going to be listened to. Yeah.
Yeah, very true. It should be normalized, as you said. What are some easy ways parents and school staff can talk openly and work together to help kids of all abilities learn and grow together? That is my next question. Janice, would you like to take it, please?
Yes, I would agree with what Roslyn said with empathy and trust. And also with what Juniette said about normalizing it and teaching our children being having that awareness of the different needs of people around us, and normalizing that. And I would like to share with you, I think, a very moving story that I just had with one of my friends who has cerebral palsy. I was actually inviting her to share her journey and her experiences in our upcoming event. And then she told me that, well, Janice, I am not neurodivergent. I am physically disabled. And I was like, okay, thank you for that correction. But she was telling me, like, sometimes when I speak, I don't want others to be talking about my issues. That's what she said. So I said, yes, I want you to talk about your strengths, what you can do. Because most of the time we see them and we only see what they can't do. Most people would see that, oh, she can't walk, or she can't see, or she can't do this, or she can't do that. And she was like telling me that sometimes the adults will have to pave way, to let others understand and not give, like you tell us to be friends with others. But sometimes you are putting pressure on other neurotypical children to be friends with us, and they don't know how. We also don't know how, and you're putting so much pressure on them. So I think what Juniette was saying is normalizing, our environment. That yes, we are different with um, the way we we are with different conditions, but we are all human. And that's understanding that we are all human. And also, one thing that I'd like to share with you is with parents. When I talk to parents, just like what my friend was saying about other people looking at not just what they can't do. And most of the time when I talk to parents, and I tell them that we are in this meeting because we would want to address something about your child. And the first thing that the parent would tell me is that, what's wrong with my child? Or they would say, my child cannot do this, my child cannot do this. How can I help my child? And sometimes it's kind of like a challenge that I give to my parents as well, when I say, before we start this meeting, can you tell me, what do you love about your child? What's the best thing that you can see about your child? And I think it has to start from there. It has to start from the parents to see the best thing about their children, what they can do, and what they can offer to their surroundings, to the community. And I myself, as an educator, I do start from there, looking at their strengths, and at the same time use that to be able to address the other issues that we see.
So nice. It's a really great question. What do you like the best in your child? That is the most important thing. First, we'll have to accept as parents, then only we can expect the society to accept us, accept our children. So there is a question from a parent here. Let us see. What should parents do if they feel socially boycotted with their neurodiverse child? It is a very common thing in our country. Many people think that it's a stigma. See, we are a very ableist society, so we can tag anyone as disabled. But if you think that if you can tag me as someone who is able, I have disability in many areas. I can't swim, but I teach children who are excellent swimmers. They swim in the sea. So if you say that this child is disabled and that person is able, it really doesn't carry anything, to carry the weightage. So people who think that a person has a child with different ability, sometimes they boycott them socially. The parents are boycotted socially. So it's a kind of society we are in. So I think the lady asked this question. Who is going to answer this? Roslyn?
So I understand, is it the parent that is feeling boycotted or the child?
Parent.
The parent? The parent. Wow. That one's tough. And there's no easy answer. What I have found is that um, destigmatizing, destigmatizing in that creating awareness really tends to help. We have, let me give you an example. We have students that are at our school with autism, and for several years there was some stigma around autism, and luckily, and we did get lucky with this. We had a student with autism who came into high school, and he came into his own, and he really started owning the fact that he had autism, and he started giving talks on autism. He started a YouTube channel on autism. And I saw it on a minuscule scale, and I don't know if this is addressing the parent, but I just think in general, just demystifying the autism and creating more awareness that, hey, just neurodivergence in general, that if, and I'm trying to, I want to give concrete, concrete answers and concrete solutions. Creating awareness, but and also another thing we've done at our school is create a parent support group. And I think it is very important. I know it is very important to talk to other parents, to find out what kind of what kind of coping mechanisms that they have, or what they have found works, because again, we're dealing with many different kinds of cultures. Like right now, I can talk about the Saudi culture, I can talk about the American culture, but I am not well versed in the Indian culture. So for me to give advice to an Indian parent, a parent of Indian descent about what to do, I think it is very important to reach out, and the schools need to do this. The schools need to facilitate parent support groups, because parents may not do it on their own, or they may not have the contacts, or they may not feel confident enough to do it. But if teachers can facilitate, and it can be, and we have to be careful, because it can, some parents may not want to disclose their children's neurodivergence, and that's fine. You need to creating some parent support groups to create awareness, but also creating a way for parents to connect, even if it is anonymous. And I know that's a challenge, but that is an option that needs to be offered. So I hope there's really no easy answer, but find others like you. Find advocates to figure out ways to create awareness in the school and in your community. That would be my best suggestion.
Thank you very much, Roslyn. Thanks a lot. So my next question is, there's
Manobina,
one. Yes, Juniette. Yes.
sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to add something that
Mhm.
Roslyn mentioned, because she was speaking mostly from that school perspective, but also being able to find your people. One thing that I know is that there are probably people here who are with private schools, and with private schools, a lot of times there are the resources for counselors. And for parents, I feel like sometimes parents just don't take care of their mental health. We don't, because you've got so many things running. And sometimes you need a place that you can be able to get that counseling, because you're going through the grief process with regards to just being able, like beginning to lose your friends. You're losing your family. You're just feeling alone. And yes, you could try and find that group, but you're like, how come all these people disowned me? And yet I used to be invited to stuff. So it's a grieving process as well for yourself, and you want to make sure that you're also mentally supported.
Mhm. Exactly. Very good. Thank you, Juniette. There are a few questions as well. Another parent, I guess. Sometimes child has behavior issues in public. As parents, we are okay with it, but if someone asks us what's wrong, how would we address that and tell the person that's my challenge? We can't explain long. So, what could be short answer? See, since the awareness is poor here, if the parent says that my child is autistic, many people will not answer here in India. So, how to explain them why the child is behaving in a certain way? That is the question the parent has asked.
May I?
Yeah,
Um, I
please.
would say I would say you don't know any explanation for any behavior. Sorry, I would. What's wrong? So if someone were to see my son stimming, because my two older sons, they stim, although they can control it in public, and they do so, mostly. But sometimes my middle child will talk to himself in public, and but I've never had someone ask me what's wrong. But if I were, I would probably come up with some sort of sarcastic like remark, like he's in a meeting with himself. So I don't know if that's the best, but I would just say that I don't think anybody owes anyone any kind of explanation. And if someone were to ask me what's wrong with my child, I wouldn't dignify that with an answer. So I don't know if that's the correct answer, but I don't believe that somebody deserves an answer if they are crass enough to ask a question like that. Please, colleagues, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, Jeanette.
I totally agree, Roslyn. And I've been in that place, and from a cultural perspective, because I'm originally from Africa, I know that feeling where you're trying to explain culturally, like, well, this is going on. No, I got to the place after I'd explained a few times when when kids were younger. Now I either give the sarcastic answer or say, "What do you mean by what's wrong?" No, he's just fine, or they're just fine. They're having a moment, or I focus on the co-regulation for my child, because if they're having a meltdown, you don't have time to be explaining to some other parent what's going on. So just co-regulate with your child so that your child is able to get to that calm and happy space. Or if they just, because they're awkward to other people, or it looks silly, just say, oh, just being silly, just being themselves. There isn't any need to explain to people, because they are already judging you, and an explanation is almost like trying to demean who your child is by saying that they're not normal because somebody has said that they're not normal. We need to stand up and be brave and courageous and believe that our children are wonderful the way they are, and being able to stand up for them from an early age. And it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jeanette. One more question. How can schools and communities effectively collaborate with parents to ensure their meaningful involvement in promoting inclusive education for all children, including neurodivergent ones? Janice, would you like to answer this?
Yes, actually, this is one of the things that I do. I support parents and my colleagues as well when it comes to planning for a support plan or an individualized education plan for a child. And I think for parents, you really have to step up. You really have to, you know, get involved because your child would feel, and also it would show up, the parents would, I mean, the educators and the support staff who is supporting your child would also feel more supported if you as a parent is seen that you are also involved and engaged in planning for a support plan for your child. So I think for parents, I am speaking as an educator, I'm speaking as a learning support coordinator or a special education needs coordinator, wherein I help in getting all the relevant teachers together and the parents together, and seeing my colleagues that they see parents involved and engaged to support a child. It gives them more inspiration, it gives them more um, I think it gives them more drive to do and implement strategies to be able to support your child. So I think for parents, it's really, really important to be involved and to be engaged in planning and drafting and getting a support plan for your child, especially for individualized education plans.
Yeah, that's very true. But what problems might come up when we try to get parents involved in making schools more inclusive? And how can we fix them? Since I am a professional, uh, and in my experience, I face some problems when we try to get parents involved completely in order to make our school more inclusive. So, what are your experiences, colleagues?
Actually, I had being in China and as well as in the Philippines. Roslyn was talking about the stigma. That is still a very strong cultural aspect that we are dealing with our parents. I had parents who are so scared to be out, and letting other parents know that their child is neurodivergent. I even had a parent one time telling me that please don't let other people know that my child has autism. It feels like it's an elephant in the room that they don't want to talk about, you know. Um, but the, I always tell the parents that it's very important for us to make relevant teachers aware of your child, and at the same time the way that we talk about autism or um, different conditions of other people with all the children in the classroom and making them understand, just like we do have different needs. I tell my children that sometimes you wear glasses, not everyone wear glasses. Your classmate wears glasses, or your friend wears glasses because he needs it. So making our parents understand that it's okay to let other people know and make them understand that your child has needs. There's a different way to approach your child that's different from other children, and that is okay.
Very true. And Juniette and Roslyn, what is your take in this?
I couldn't agree more. When a child is neurodivergent, that is not going to go away. And the quicker the parents realize that denial truly hurts children, truly hurts. I've seen it so many times. I hate denial, but oh my goodness, do I understand it. I understand it, but the sooner the parents can understand that, lean into this issue, do not avoid it. It's not going to go away. Let's work it. Let's figure out what to do with this. And you asked about problems. I've seen, again, coming from the professional perspective, that parents who truly advocate sometimes tend to be, I don't want to be say labeled problems, but teachers are like, oh, here comes that parent again. Well, please just understand, again, let's empathy. The parent loves that child, and they love that child so much they want to do anything. They see their child suffer more than others. They see their child try, and they can't perform the same as others. That parent only wants to help their child. Please, educators, embrace those parents. embrace, because those parents, you will never have more dedicated parents. You will never have parents who are willing to go the extra mile, embrace them, bring them in, and basically say, okay, what can you do? I mean, seriously, get them involved in the PTO, start a parent support group, advocate to local businesses if they have connections. Again, I'm speaking more for post-secondary, get us some work experience opportunities. But a couple of other problems I've seen are just lack of communication between the school and the parents. And sometimes, yes, the parents don't want to talk about it, and then the parents are on their own journeys. But also, I've seen miscommunication. So when you're dealing with communication between schools and teachers, I would highly, highly recommend that any kind of sensitive conversation be done in person versus writing, because I've seen writing really get misconstrued. Emails are misunderstood. There's language barriers. And I would also encourage parents or schools, if there is a perceived or an anticipated language barrier, get a translator. Parents bring translators in, or schools just have translators ready, and parents can say, oh, I don't need a translator. But it coming from the professional perspective, if you have a translator ready, parents are more willing to use that translator. But if you don't have a translator ready and the parents need one, the parents are less likely to ask because they may feel embarrassed about their lack of English. So just being prepared on both sides, and just realizing that clear communication between the school and the parents is absolutely crucial, and do everything you can to eliminate any kind of barrier that deals with communication.
Very true, very true. Juniette, would you like to say something?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So let me start by saying my background. One of the things that I do through my organization is support schools in being able to evaluate their ability to support these, I call them customers, parents, in terms of the level of types of support that you're giving. And I use marketing principles and evidence-based strategic research to be able to figure out what's going on. And when I've done that for some schools, and really they've only been private schools, I've not yet worked with public schools, so let me just caveat that. Um, what we've found is that what the schools thought that they were doing well, the parents actually didn't think that they were doing well. And so it's always good to get that lens from to think of the school as a business from a marketing perspective, trying to be able to meet the needs of customers and being able to hear from them in that way. And I've found that to be very useful because each school is going to be so different, and the kinds of collaboration that are needed are different. Then the question says how to ensure meaningful involvement in promoting inclusive education. I think there are different layers to it. There's the layer that Janice said at the individualized education program, come to it and ask parents to participate. And at that layer, when what most of the clients that I've dealt with one-on-one going to their meetings, they the reason that they have me there or they have me help them prepare is because when you get in there, it's you against all these providers sitting there on one side of the table. And yes, they have your child's best interest at heart, but all you're hearing is, and your child does this, and so this is going to be the goal, and it's always so deficit based, and you get so exhausted. And I've even heard a principal of a school who had a child with autism. He literally used to take his day off after the IEP meeting to just go to dinner with his wife and just sit and cry or sit and celebrate because it just drains you. So for schools to be able to understand the kind of level of um, stress that a parent is going through, having to sit through all of that and hear about your child, you want to help make sure that they meet the goals, but at the same time it's just draining and draining and draining. So finding ways to be able to support that. The other level is there are parents, like you say, who are rah rah rah, I'm going to do everything I can to support this child. um, I say bring them into class, make them be able to help other children, make them active in some of the true promotion of inclusive education by being involved within the rest of the school, because they are the ones who are going to get stuff running within the school to be able to rally other parents and make sure that they do it in a way that is respectful and positive. So you want to get their buy-in first, so that you don't have somebody rallying to get parents together against the school, but for the school and for the children. Um, I will say this from a personal perspective. Last week, I had my most fabulous IEP. meeting. I have had many different kinds of IEP meetings, both mine and other people's, but this was for my youngest child. And this is an inclusive classroom, and I'd love to have them come one day to speak. Manobina, I could have these teachers come to speak about how they collaborate. It's one of the best inclusive classrooms in my district because they collaborate together 100%. And what they do when we are going to an IEP meeting, they are the ones who initiate a lot of the strengths. I've never sat in a meeting where they've really internalized, and you can tell they've internalized beyond just the written document, exactly who your child is from both the challenges that they face and especially from their strengths. And they're very proactive about it. They would look for even research articles and that kind of thing. And this is a school that has managed to communicate every single time. And I love apps, but sometimes on an app you're only able to say so much. So I feel like that is one way in which you can be able to have that meaningful involvement is by yourself putting yourself in those parents' shoes and making it come to life for them. We were just grateful with my husband because has been our least stressful ever IEP meeting. Yeah.
So nice. Thank you. Do you think using technology help parents get more involved and understand how they can support their child's learning, especially if their child learns differently, like if the child is neurodivergent? Yeah. Roslyn?
Yes, 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 and yes. Um, I can think of several ways. As a teacher, I'll put my teacher hat on. I utilize technology every single day in many different ways. Specifically communicating with parents, I have a shared Google Doc. I call it a daily or performance journal. And I don't have very many students, so I know it might not be feasible for all teachers to do this, but I what I do is I share this, it's a shared Google Doc with the parents, and I go in and I just give a quick summary of what happened that day. And I do it every single day. And the parents have come to expect it. They ask me if I miss a day, but I will just summarize what I've done. I'll summarize if there are any concerns. And then I have a column for parent comments. It is an amazing way. It is an amazing way to keep the lines of communication beautifully open. I also have them on WhatsApp. So, and we've got emails. So there is absolutely no missing me in terms of, or me missing them in terms of communication. Our school also uses Seesaw, which is an online platform, and it's absolutely fantastic because my youngest child is in elementary, and his teacher posts everything every day. I mean, I see their lesson plans. So the use of technology there. And then we also have Power School, where our school, we don't even send out report cards anymore. The parents can go on and they can see grades basically in real time. And then in terms of assistive technology, I mean, there are so many. I mean, Proloquo to go for speech or speech to text, text to speech. My child who is dyslexic, we heavily use Speechify, which is a really nice online application that will do the text to speech because he has such difficulty with fluency. But if it can read it to him, then he can comprehend and he can do his comprehension activities. So there's a million. There's absolutely. And then with AI, I mean, now everything is just blowing up. So
Yeah.
I will throw out one AI that is really nice. It's called Diffit. And what it can do, it can take any text and it can simplify it to any grade level. So you can take something from the New York Times and you can simplify it so that a second grade learning level, second grade reading level can read it. So I've really
Yeah.
utilized that. So yeah.
What is it? What is the name again? What is the name again?
Diffit, it's DIFFIT.com.
DIFFIT. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
but
try it.
that's just one example. I'm sure Chat GPT or Google Bard or whatever can do the same, but that's specifically. There's also Magic School AI. There's a million. Google all of them, but I would really lean into AI as well because that's one that's not going away either, and it is amazing. It is amazing what can be done in terms
Yeah.
of
So,
lesson planning, communication, etc.
Yeah, I'd
yeah.
agree with Roslyn. I also use Seesaw. Seesaw has different features wherein you can take a video of what you're doing, and at the same time it can be like a model so that the parents can also see what you do with the children, and they can also do the same thing at home. And you can record how they say and read words or read sentences and stories or write. You can on CISO, you can even record how they write, and so the parents would be able to see how you are teaching the children, and at the same time they can do that at home. And they can interact and send messages and give their responses to what you're doing. So yes, Roslyn, CISO is such a great tool. I also use the tin can, where you record for 20 seconds. Students who have very poor working memory, they can record themselves, and then they can listen to it and then write what they have recorded. So that helps them as well. Students who have a poor working memory.
Uh,
They're in different tools.
Janice, could you please write down the names in the comment section?
Sure.
Whatever Roslyn said, Diffit, I have already written it down. So if you could just give the names, it will be easier for our viewers to understand and try them. Okay. Uh, 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 Viewers, please post your questions. We still have 10 minutes time or so. We can address your questions now. But before that, I have one more question for all of you. How can schools help parents become strong supporters of inclusive education? Uh, what is your opinion about it? The parents can spread the word and making sure everyone feels welcome. And how can the school contribute in it?
I can start. So one of the things that I find is um, the parent of the child who's different is usually the one under the pressure to um, to create awareness. And sometimes I think that schools need to encourage the parents of those who have, whether it's neurotypical or regular children that are behaving the way society expects them to behave, um, or are able, just the ableist perspective, right? Those who feel that they're more able to be able to involve them in being part of the driving of this, of driving change, and that there would be a collaborative approach to it. Because what you find is um, the parent who has the child that needs to be included is the one who's running the organization, and it's true they need to be involved, but and maybe allies come in to help, but there aren't enough allies usually to be able to rally everyone else. And the reason I say that is that there has to be some kind of training for those who have neurotypical children or children who don't have disabilities, not to understand just the pain, but to be able to understand the strengths. And um, and that needs to be a starting point for it to be collaborative together with the school as well. And the school has these resources, you have the training and that kind of thing. The other thing is having events that bring them together to have those conversations, a space to talk. Because when people talk and share their stories, then they're able to grow together and be able to have change. The last thing that I would say in terms of schools being able to promote um, to involve parents in promoting that inclusive method or inclusivity is a lot of times parents are given chances to, there's a school mom, and I'm talking about in this context where I am. There's a school mom or somebody who's asked to please come and do photocopies, like the kind of help helps that you have them come in for, being able to expand it to give them encounters. I was just looking at what was it? Yes, I was actually looking through my dissertation responses. I did my dissertation field work in Kenya, and I was looking through some responses this week. And some teachers mentioned to me how the only way in which they felt that they began to understand more of their own students was after they met autistic adults or adults with ADHD and heard their lives. So being able to encounter and understand the lived experience through that journey. I mean, Rosie, the work you're going to be doing is awesome because that is that end of the journey, kind of from a K to 12 schooling year, and the people who maybe are experts, like Janice is an expert because she's in the resource room all the time, but the other general ed teachers are not. The other parents in general ed are not. So giving them that ability to have that lived experience encounter with another adult that helps them realize, oh my, this is somebody, my peer, because we're both adults and these are their perspectives. So I think that would be another way to be able to help them get involved.
Great. Thank you very much. So, before we conclude, I am still waiting for some more questions from the viewers. My last question to all of you is about some real life examples. So, can you share some stories of how parents and school working together have made a big difference for kids with different learning styles and needs? Some real life stories I'm asking for.
I can give you just a couple from as a parent. Um, Way back when my oldest child was just entering, he had entered a new school, and I mentioned Pro Loquo to Go, which is it's like PECS. It's an online program where there are, when a child is nonverbal or needs assistance in getting their thoughts across, pictures will pop up and it will basically speak for you. And so the school that I was at did not know about it, and so I showed it to them, and that's okay. I mean, it was kind of new back then. My child is 20 now, but so that was one way in that I knew my child, I knew the technology that worked, and I introduced it to his school, and he started using it, and it really did facilitate his journey. I have a lot of examples there, but one more that for some reason sticks out in my mind. This is my middle child, Noah, and he needed to go in for an assessment, and he has had incredible separation anxiety. And anytime he would go in, just going into an office with strange adults, I knew that he wasn't going to do well. And so I talked with the psychologist, what can we do? And actually this was the psychologist's idea. They're like, well, let's talk about him. Tell me about him. What is he like? What kind of toys can you give me? What kind of movies does he like? And I mean, it was like, Toy Story, because all that kid talked about was Toy Story. And so what the psychologist did is that he got some Toy Story toys. I think there were some, he had some pictures, and it was basically kind of like a little, a Toy Story field day when we walked in. And Noah, my middle one, you could see that the anxiety just melted because he walked in and he was like, Woody, Buzz, Bo Peep. And so everything just kind of started focusing on what he liked. But it was that pre-conversation that we had. It was that open communication that made him feel so comfortable that he went in, and he it was a fantastic assessment. I believe that it truly revealed, it was a true representation of his abilities, versus he didn't do well because he was so anxiety ridden. So those are just two of my many examples of how open communication and just again, empathy and respect can certainly help foster a great relationship, parent, teacher, school, and further support our students.
It's very important. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, Janice,
Yeah, I would really agree with Roslyn.
the video is frozen. Janice?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yes,
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with Roslyn with the open communication, because sometimes, parents come and they would also don't know what to do or don't know what's wrong. So I think for them coming and stepping and asking teachers or staff at school that my child is experiencing this. So I had one parent who just joined the school and was telling us that, this is my observation with my child. His last school was telling me that he wasn't talking, or he doesn't know how to play. And the parents said that I think it is selective mutism. And so the teachers who had this child were thinking, okay, selective mutism. Not until I met the child and I observed, and I said, I think we have to, we have to know more what's going on with your child. But the parents was just so proactive and went ahead to get an evaluation and was given a diagnosis of autism. But then, for me as well, working in this field, sometimes with diagnosis, it has to be, we know the process that it has to go through, observations at, Roslyn would know this, getting a diagnosis that, you have to see different environments where the child is, like at school, at home, at the playground, and that. But this diagnosis that the parent has gotten from the hospital was just an interview. And I was like, I would say I was a bit skeptical about it. So I asked the help of our school psychologist, and I've also introduced the parent that we do have a speech and language therapist at school. But for me, I think I would this is just from my professional opinion, that sometimes, because in the context in China where we are, getting a diagnosis is a little bit of a challenge, where we are. So for me, what I would say to the parent is that we can see the issues, we have observed how the child is, so we are going to support the child according to what we observe, and we are going to try strategies. We are going to try different approaches in order to help your child. So, as of the moment, what we have gotten into is that the child was able to have a speech and language evaluation from our speech and language therapies, and the child is receiving speech and language intervention, and at the same time literacy intervention at school. um, I'm not sure how we would, we have already seen some progress, from where he were in the beginning to now. But I think for the diagnosis, um, I think as the child progresses, as the child moves and grows, they also, I think, would manifest different needs. So for me, the most important thing is that we would.
You're frozen again.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, yes, you're audible now.
Yeah. Yeah, the most important is that we try something. We try different strategies and approaches. And it's better to try something rather than not try anything at all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, your concluding comments, Juniette, and then we will just find out.
Yeah, and I know we're right at the hour. I just want to say that I agree with what Roslyn and Janice have said, and I'm not going to share an example because it's going to take more than a minute for sure. But I just want to give some comments here in terms of our takeaways. It is communication, care, listening. Try something. I love that, Janice, because a lot of times we're seeking diagnosis, but then what can be done right now because you need to intervene to support the child. That try and try quickly. It's kind of like in business. Try, fail quickly, do the next thing, right? And see what is going to be able to work. So thanks so much for having us, and we appreciate you on Let's Talk Inclusion.
Thank you very much, Juniette, Roslyn, and Janice, for your inputs. And I really had an enriching experience today. And would love to collaborate once again with you in near future. Thank you very much. And thank you to all the viewers for your enthusiastic participation. Hoping to see you soon on the 62nd episode of Let's Talk Inclusion. Till then, goodbye and take care. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.